Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I decided to make a video for horror movies that I am looking forward to in 2026. It feels wild saying that number, that year out loud. It feels like we're getting closer and closer to Terminator years. When the Hardys and Edge and Christian had the first ever tag team ladder match back at No Mercy in 1999, they did compete for a briefcase. It was not for the tag titles. It was a briefcase that was filled with, I think, was it $100,000? I think it was $100,000, and the winners basically got to fuck Terry Runnels. I think that's an exact quote. I looked up what horror movies were coming out next year, and specifically 2025 has been such a great year for horror. It's one of the best years for horror. So many horror bangers came out this year that I'm hoping the same for 2026, but who knows? It could go any which way. It says that there's an untitled Insidious sequel that is coming out next year. And I gotta be honest, the Insidious movies, a lot of those sequels weren't that great. I honestly feel like the first two were the ones that were worthwhile. The last one, which was I think the fifth one, at least they brought back that original family. I don't know if there's much more room to explore in this series at this point. The 28 Years Later sequel is coming out just less than a year after the last one. And I know the last movie was mixed as far as fan reception, but I am at least curious to see where they go next. That ending of the first one was definitely a what the fuck. But if they can bring it around, this is called the Bone Temple. If they can make it interesting, if they can make it work, maybe it even forgives the shortcomings that people had of the last one. Maybe this new trilogy does bring it forward. Who knows? Then we have Return to Silent Hill. Now, I'm not the biggest Silent Hill fan. I mean, I've played the games years ago. In fact, I should probably play that remake of Silent Hill 2 that came out not that long ago, just out of curiosity. But I've been fascinated by those older movies, like the original movie I thought was decent. The sequel, maybe not so much, although I like parts of it. I think I just like the idea of Silent Hill, the actual premise of it, the lore of it. And so maybe if this film, since it is kind of a reboot of sorts, maybe they can do something to make this franchise cool again. Scream 7. Now, this is very controversial because you're either ecstatic that, Sydney is coming back, right? Neve Campbell, the original, the final girl of this series. And I concur. Like, I love Sydney. I love that character. I am glad that Neve Campbell is back. However, there's a big part of me that does not like the way Melissa Barrera was treated. And I mean, it is what it is. Some people didn't like her character or didn't care for that actress, so they don't care. Or maybe you're upset. I see back and forth online of people feeling mixed about this movie. I will say that the trailer looked interesting. It looked decent. It wasn't blow away, but I also feel like they don't need to show me too much to get me excited. You just tell me that Sydney's back. It's wild to see that Sydney's at the age where she has a grown-up daughter who's now being targeted. And I'm curious if some of the rumors that I've heard about this movie, some of the casting announcements that have been out there, how that plays into the actual plot. Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. Even though I enjoyed the first movie, don't get me wrong, so for that, I am looking forward to the second one. The fact that they are calling this movie Ready or Not, Here I Come is the coolest fucking thing ever. I hope the trailer uses the Fuji song, or fuck it, use the original, use the Jacksons version of the song. Whatever it is, that song is perfect. Evil Dead Burn. Maybe normally I wouldn't have this on the list because it is such a long going franchise that at this point you could argue whether or not it has the legs left to continue on. But honestly, Evil Dead Rise, which was the last one, I enjoyed how fucked up that was. I enjoyed how dark that was and how much it took it out of the woods, took it out of the cabin, tried something different with the apartment and the family. And to me, it worked. To me, it gave me something to where I am curious if they can continue doing something different with this series. Resident Evil, another video game adaptation, and another movie that after that last one especially, and you could argue some of even the Mila Jovovich ones, the Paul W.S. Anderson ones, you could argue that franchise is a mess as far as films go, but the fact that Zach Cregger, they've brought this guy in as the director, and I've loved his last two movies. I'm talking about Barbarian, and I know this one's more controversial. Weapons, it seems like some people love it and some people didn't care for it, or they thought it was overhyped. But Zach Cregger as a director, I just think his sensibilities, his style, his tone, what he brings to his films, I'm all about. And so I am very curious to see what he does with this property, to see if he can make it work. He seems like, when I hear him talk about the video games, that he is a fan of the games and that he is, at least, he has an idea of how to approach this. Violent Night 2. Now, I'm not even saying I'm the biggest fan of Violent Night 1. I thought it was fine, but I like David Harbour, so like I'm interested for that reason. But it's one of those things where it was an interesting idea the first time around. Let's see if they can make it even better the second time, right? Like, let's see if they can take it and improve upon it, or make it something that, that is worthwhile for doing a second time. There's another movie called Werewolf. I know werewolf, but it's spelled Werewolf. And it's directed by Robert Eggers, and that's a director that I am definitely going to be curious and interested in, just because he's the director. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe it doesn't work. I didn't like The Witch, but I like Nosferatu. I liked a couple of his movies to where he does bring his own style and flair to it, to where he might make this work. And last but not least, there's a movie called The Bride, which I know there's plenty of Frankenstein type stories that are being made today. It feels like I'm seeing it constantly left or right. And this is just another version of Frankenstein's Monster's Bride, but it's directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. It stars Christian Bale. I recently saw the trailer in theaters for the first time, and I thought, that looks so weird and kind of off, kind of weird. This whole like Bonnie and Clyde situation with these two, it's not a direction I would have thought of, but because it is so out there, I'm curious. It might suck. I might watch it and say, "Wow, what a waste of these actors and director." But maybe it does work. I'm willing to give it a shot. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of not only my list of horror movies that I'm looking forward to in 2026, but what are your list? Some of your movies? Did I miss something? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!